Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling a question that honestly has both of us here at AITT kind of scratching our heads.
Yeah, could AI actually lead to like more consumption, not less?
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, definitely. And the Jevons paradox, that's exactly what it suggests. But will AI really be any different? Like we've seen this play out with so many other technologies.
Right, exactly. And to help us kind of unpack all this, we're turning to BigZ and the Big Apple.
Oh yeah, I love that blog.
Yeah, they've got like 7 blog posts all about AI and investment, and we're going to see what we can glean from them. See if we can find any clues to this whole consumption question.
7 posts though, that's a lot to dig into.
Well, there's one that I thought was really interesting. It's called AI NeoCloud, and it talks about these new cloud providers.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, and they're focused specifically on AI.
What I found fascinating about that post was that it's not just like some small little trend. It's like Microsoft is dropping, was it $200 million per month on GPU compute?
Well,
Like, that's a serious commitment.
okay, so for those of us who aren't quite as tech savvy, maybe break that down a little bit. What's the significance of all this GPU compute?
Okay, so think of it this way. AI, especially the kind that's learning and adapting, right? It needs massive processing power to function. And GPUs, those are graphics processing units. They're really good at that kind of number crunching.
Okay.
So these AI neoclouds are basically renting out access to these really powerful GPUs, which makes it much easier and cheaper for companies to develop and run all their AI applications.
So it's like the gold rush, but instead of gold, it's computing power.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, how does this huge surge in infrastructure play into this whole Jevons paradox thing?
Right, because if AI development is suddenly cheaper and easier to access, wouldn't that logically lead to even more AI-powered products and services?
Yeah, and if those products and services make things more efficient, which is kind of the whole point, right? Doesn't that mean even more consumption overall? It's like this big chain reaction.
Totally. And, Big Z, they also talk about this on the demand side in a post that's literally called Jevons Paradox.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that one.
Yeah. And they talk about how much venture capital money is being poured into all these AI startups. We're talking billions of dollars here.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Do they give any indication of like where that money's all going?
It seems like a lot of it is being funneled into applications, which makes sense, I guess, because investors, they want to see AI making an actual impact on the real world.
Right. So it's not just theoretical anymore. They're actually putting it in practice.
Exactly. And this kind of aligns with another post from BigZ called Situational Awareness.
Okay.
And they basically predict that AI is going to be a $1 trillion industry by the end of the decade, potentially even bigger than the dot-com boom.
Trillion with a T. Okay, now I'm really interested. So we've got all this crazy investment driving this rapid AI development and potentially a ton of new applications that are about to hit the market. Where does that leave us with this whole Jevons paradox thing?
Yeah. Well, it definitely seems like the stage is set for this massive surge in AI-driven efficiency. But remember, Jevons isn't just about the efficiency itself, it's about what that efficiency leads to. To actually answer that, we need to look at what these AI applications are doing, what problems they're solving.
Okay, so let's dig into some of those applications then. There was one post that I thought was super interesting. It was called the AI Scientist's First Original Research Papers.
Oh, yeah, that one was mind-blowing.
An AI that can write research papers. Like, what's going on there?
Well, we're talking about an AI in Japan that's not just, analyzing data. It's actually coming up with completely new hypotheses. It's designing experiments. And then it's publishing the results. Like, it's a huge leap forward in terms of AI's capabilities.
And just think about what that means for the pace of research. If AI can do the heavy lifting of scientific discovery, even if it's just partially, wouldn't that accelerate like the entire field?
Absolutely. It's like giving every scientist like a superpowered research assistant, more discoveries, but faster. And that brings us right back to the Jevons paradox, doesn't it?
Because if AI is getting more efficient at developing AI, wouldn't that mean an even faster increase in its capabilities? And wouldn't that potentially lead to even more demand for these AI-powered solutions?
It's definitely something to consider. Now, let's not forget about, tokens as a service, Ta?
Right.
This post highlights a whole new way to access and use AI. It's kind of like AI on demand, but with some really interesting hardware involved.
Okay, break it down for me.
Basically, you've got companies like Grok. They're developing this specialized hardware that's designed to run AI models incredibly efficiently. And they're offering access to this hardware through a service model, kind of like how we access cloud computing today.
So instead of needing your own supercomputer to run advanced AI, you can just like rent the processing power you need from a task provider.
Exactly. And that could be a real game changer. Think about all the smaller companies, researchers, even individuals who could suddenly leverage really cutting edge AI
Hmm.
without needing massive investments up front.
So TS could be another factor that's driving down the cost of AI and making it even more accessible. And
Yeah.
again, we're back to that chain reaction, more efficient, more applications, potentially more consumption.
You got it. And BigZ takes this a step further in their post on vertical AI. This one focuses on how AI is being tailored to specific
Okay,
industries.
vertical AI, I'm listening.
So think about it. A healthcare AI needs to be good at analyzing medical images and predicting diagnoses right.
Right.
But a financial AI needs to be good at crunching market data and identifying trends. A manufacturing AI needs to be good at, optimizing production lines and predicting maintenance needs.
So it's about developing AI solutions that are experts in their specific fields rather than try to create some kind of one-size-fits-all AI.
Exactly. And Big Z argues that this could be really, really disruptive. Imagine if these very specialized AI solutions start actually outperforming, traditional companies in their respective industries.
Wow, that would definitely shake things up.
I don't-
Makes me wonder what industries are going to be most impacted by this whole vertical AI trend.
That's a great question, and it's something that Big Z explores in their final post-AI tipping point.
Okay.
They argue that we're basically on the verge of this huge shift where AI goes from being kind of a niche technology to a fundamental part of, how we live and how we work.
Wow. Okay, so let me just recap for a second.
Hmm.
We've got this whole rise of AI, neoclouds providing the infrastructure. We've got massive investment pouring into the field. We've got these groundbreaking advancements like the AI scientists that can write research papers. We've got new ways to access and use AI with things like TAJAS. And we've got this huge push towards specialized vertical AI solutions. And all of it really seems to point to one thing: AI becoming more powerful, more efficient, and much more widespread.
Exactly, and that brings us back to that original question. How does the Jevons paradox fit into all of this? Will this increase in AI efficiency actually lead to more consumption, as the paradox suggests, or will AI be different?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We've got a lot to think about.
We do. It is a big one. And I think to really get to the bottom of it, we need to look at both sides, the good and the bad, the potential upsides and downsides of all this AI-driven efficiency.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate for a second. What's the optimistic take here? How could this actually be a good thing? How could all this AI-driven efficiency actually benefit humanity?
Well, imagine a world where AI helps us solve some of our biggest problems, like climate change or disease or poverty. AI could give us the tools to make real progress in these areas.
Okay, yeah, AI optimizing energy grids for renewables,
Correct.
AI developing new medical treatments, even AI personalizing education so everyone can reach their full potential.
Exactly. And it's not just about solving these huge global problems. AI could also make our everyday lives, easier and more fulfilling.
Okay, how so?
Imagine less traffic because we have these AI-powered transportation systems. Or imagine AI giving us personalized recommendations that help us discover new things we love, or even just AI assistants that take care of all the mundane tasks so we can have more free time to do the things we actually enjoy.
It sounds pretty utopian.
Yeah.
But let's flip the script. What are the downsides? What are the potential negative consequences of all this increased efficiency?
I think one of the biggest concerns is overconsumption and what that means for the environment.
Okay, I can see that.
If AI makes everything cheaper and more accessible, we could see this massive surge in demand for all kinds of goods and services, and that could put a serious strain on our planet's resources.
It's like that classic example of fuel-efficient cars, right? They
Yeah.
use less gas per mile, but then people end up driving more because it's cheaper. So in the end, we're actually using more fuel overall.
Exactly. And that same principle could apply to so many other areas. If AI starts driving down costs across the board, we could see this huge increase in demand for everything from consumer electronics to travel to food production.
And that increased demand, even if the individual products are more energy efficient, could still have really serious consequences for things like deforestation or pollution or even climate change.
Exactly. It's not just about how efficient the technology itself is. It's about how that efficiency changes our behavior, and our overall consumption patterns.
So it's kind of this double-edged sword, right? AI could give us the tools to live more sustainably, but it could also make our consumption problem even worse if we're not careful.
Exactly. And this brings us to another potential downside that Big Z talks about: economic disruption.
Right, we were talking about vertical AI earlier, and how these specialized AI solutions could potentially outperform traditional companies. What kind of disruption are we talking about here?
Well, imagine entire industries being completely transformed practically overnight. We could see massive job displacement as AI starts taking over tasks that used to be done by humans.
And it's not just blue-collar jobs at risk either, right?
Yeah.
I mean, AI is getting pretty good at a lot of white-collar tasks, too. Things like writing reports or analyzing data, even creating marketing campaigns.
Exactly, and that could lead to a lot of uncertainty and anxiety for people. If their livelihoods are suddenly at risk, we need to start thinking now about how we can help people adapt to this new job market and learn the skills they'll need to thrive in this AI-driven economy.
So it's not just about the environmental impact of increased consumption. It's also about the potential social and economic consequences of all this AI adoption. It seems like this Jevons paradox really does apply to AI on multiple levels.
It does, and it really highlights the need for, careful consideration and planning. We can't just wait for these problems to happen. We need to be proactive in addressing these challenges.
Okay, so we've got this potential for increased consumption that could really strain the environment. And we've got the potential for all this economic disruption as AI starts to transform these different industries. So what can we do about it? Are we just doomed to repeat the same mistakes we've made with every other new technology?
I wouldn't say we're doomed, but we definitely need to learn from the past and take a more mindful approach to how we develop and deploy AI.
So what does that look like? What would a more mindful approach to AI actually look like in practice?
Well, for starters, we need to prioritize sustainability right from the beginning. We need to design AI systems that are not only efficient, but also environmentally responsible.
So thinking about the entire life cycle of a product or service, right? From the energy used to create it to the materials used in its production to how it's disposed of at the end of its life.
Exactly. And we need to be really mindful of the potential for AI to make existing inequalities even worse. We need to make sure that everyone benefits from AI, not just the wealthy elite. We need to make sure that access to these AI-powered tools and services is equitable.
That makes a lot of sense. We need to really think about the ethical implications of AI and how it's going to impact different groups in society. But how do we actually make these changes happen? Who's responsible for making sure AI is developed and used responsibly?
It's a shared responsibility, honestly. We need governments, businesses, researchers, individuals all working together to make this happen.
So government setting regulations, businesses adopting ethical AI practices, researchers focusing on AI safety and fairness, and individuals making informed choices about the AI products and services they use.
Exactly. It's a really complex challenge with lots of different facets, and it requires a collaborative approach. And it's something we need to be talking about now, not waiting till it's too late.
It's kind of a sobering thought when you really think about it. This isn't just some abstract technological debate. The choices we make about AI today are going to have a huge impact on the world we live in tomorrow.
Absolutely. And it's a lot to take in. We've covered a lot of ground here today, from the potential benefits of AI to the potential risks associated with the Jevons paradox.
And we've talked about the importance of sustainability and ethical considerations and the need for this collaborative approach to navigate this really complex landscape.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that AI is an incredibly powerful tool, but like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to engage with the complexities and make informed choices that are going to shape the future of AI.
So we've talked about all the potential upsides and the downsides of this whole AI-driven efficiency thing, but I keep coming back to this one thought. It just feels like AI is fundamentally different from any technology we've ever seen before. It's not just about making things faster or cheaper. AI is actually changing the way we think and solve problems.
Yeah, you're right. It really is this fundamental shift. And I think that's what makes this whole Jevons paradox thing so tricky to apply to AI. We're not just talking about like using more electricity or driving more miles. We're talking about changing the entire fabric of our economy and our society.
Right. And that reminds me of another post that BigZ wrote that we haven't really touched on yet. It's called AI and the Limits of Human Ingenuity.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. And they basically talk about how AI could actually help us break through some of those limitations that have always kind of held us back.
That's an interesting take. What kind of limitations are they talking about specifically?
Well, they give the example of scientific research.
Hmm.
They argue that human researchers are always going to be limited by things like cognitive biases or just the sheer amount of information that's out there, or even just the time it takes to actually conduct experiments and analyze data.
And they're suggesting that AI could help us overcome those barriers and potentially lead to like a whole new era of scientific discovery.
Exactly. It's not just science. They argue that AI could help us find solutions to problems that have seemed impossible to solve for like centuries. Things like poverty or disease or climate change.
It's a bold claim, but I can see where they're coming from. If AI can help us overcome those fundamental human limitations, it really could change our entire understanding of what's possible.
And that's where I get stuck with the whole Jevons paradox thing.
Yeah.
If AI is unlocking entirely new levels of efficiency and ingenuity, then doesn't that change the equation? It's not just about consuming more of the same stuff. It's about creating entirely new possibilities.
It's almost like asking, what happens to the Jevons paradox when the resource we're trying to use more efficiently is human ingenuity itself?
Whoa, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And I think that's where we need to be focusing our attention. It's not enough to just talk about the potential risks of AI, this whole efficiency potentially leading to more consumption. We also need to be thinking about the incredible opportunities that AI presents.
I completely agree. We need to be asking ourselves, how can we use AI to create a better future for everyone?
Exactly. How can we use AI to solve these big global challenges and create new industries and improve the quality of life for people all over the world?
And how can we do all of that while being mindful of the ethical implications, making sure that AI is used responsibly and that it benefits everyone?
Those are the big questions, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the key takeaway from this whole deep dive. AI is unlike anything we've ever seen before. It has this immense potential to completely reshape our world in ways that we can't even fully imagine yet, both for good and for bad.
And it's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to create with this technology.
We need to stay informed and engaged, and we need to keep having these conversations.
Absolutely, because the choices we make today are going to determine the course of AI development for years to come.
Well said. Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive for today. A huge thank you to BigZ and the Big Apple for giving us so much to think about.
Yeah, those blog posts were really thought-provoking.
And to you, our listener, thanks for joining us on this exploration. We hope this has given you some new perspectives on the complex relationship between AI and the Jevons paradox.
Remember, the future of AI is not set in stone. It's a future that we're all creating together.
Until next time, keep diving deep.